All right, now that we're experts on truth tables for negation, conjunction, disjunction, we can actually go over how to complete a full truth table. So in order to practice, we're going to be looking at this example, right? So they give us a sentence which reads, Kathy does not like cupcakes, but she likes ice cream and she likes cookies. So if you see this statement, you know that it's composed of three little statements. So we're going to label those P, Q, and R. All right, so the first one, Kathy likes cupcakes, is going to be represented by P. Kathy likes ice cream is going to be represented by Q, and Kathy likes cookies is going to be represented by R. So what we do is the first thing before we actually tackle a truth table is we have to break the sentence down into pieces. So Kathy does not like cupcakes. You should be able to see that this looks like P, so I'm going to put P. But because the word not appears, we're going to have to put negation. Remember, negation just means that. She likes ice cream. So that is actually Q right here. So I'm going to put a little Q. And then she likes cookies. So that is R right here. So if you notice, what we're doing is that we're breaking little statements. And then we're translating those statements into logical statements, right? So that's what we have so far. Now there's an extra thing in here. There's a comma, which means that there's going to be a set of parentheses. Now, the way you know there's going to be parentheses is because there is more letters to the right side of the comma. We have a Q and an R. So we're going to have to put parentheses around those, right? Because there's more stuff. If there would have been more letters to the left of the comma, then we would have grouped those together in parentheses. So we're almost done, but we still have other little things in there. We have the word and. Remember, and is represented with a conjunction. So we're going to go ahead and put that there. And then we also have the word but, which is also a sort of a conjunction. So make sure you make a note of that. Every time you see the word comma, but, it's just a hidden conjunction. So if you notice, our sentence translated into this, right? Negation P, conjunction, and then we have a set of parentheses because of the comma and the fact that there was more stuff to the right of the comma. And then we had Q, conjunction, R. So again, the way you do this is you read the sentence, look for little keywords such as not, which is going to represent a negation, the word but or and, which is going to be represented by a conjunction. We don't have one here, but if the word or would have showed up, we would have replaced it with a disjunction. So just be ready for those. Okay, now here comes the fun part. We're going to have to create a truth table for this statement. So this is always how you start a truth table. Since we have three different letters to take care of, we have P, Q, and R, know that we're going to have a total of 8 rows. If we would have only had 2 letters, such as P and Q, then we would have only had 4 rows. So just be ready for that. So if you have 3 letters, like on this one, P, Q, and R, you're going to have a total of 8 rows. And you are going to have to fill it up with T's and false, truths and falses, right? And you're like, I have no idea how to do that. It's super simple. The first column, which is represented by P, is always going to start with 4 truths and end with 4 falses. So just go ahead and fill that column first. Always on forever, 4 truths, 4 falses. Now the second row, which is Q, you alternate 2 truths, 2 false, 2 truths, 2 false. Okay, that's all you have to remember. Now the third row, which is R, just alternates every single row. So true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Once you learn that pattern, that is always going to be how you fill up the first 3 rows. So pretty simple, you just have to remember. So the first column, 4 truths, 4 false. Second column, 2 truths, 2 false, 2 truths, 2 false. And then the third column, you alternate between truths and false all the way down. So that's always the beginning of creating a truth table, making sure you have all different possibilities, which is a total of 8 different rows. Now, what we have to tackle next is we are going to have to make a truth table for all of that statement, but we break it down into baby steps. So let's go ahead and start by tackling this little part here first, right? So we're going to add an extra column where we find negation P. Negation P, if you remember, is just the opposite truth value of P. So you come to the P column and you negate all of this column. Remember, negation means opposite. So instead of having 4 truths and 4 false, It now becomes 4 false and 4 truths. Okay, so that's how you slowly break down the problem. So that's what we do, right? So let me just go ahead and erase that. Let's come back to the original statement. We already took care of this part. So I'm just going to exit out. So we have that part done. Now, there is parentheses. When we have parentheses, you have to make sure you do the inside part first. Since we already have a column for Q and we already have a column for R, we could tackle the whole parentheses. So we're going to add an extra column just for that. So if you notice, we already have a column for this. Now we have a column for this one. So how in the world do I fill up the column for this? Remember, Q and R. This is right here a conjunction. When are conjunctions true? When we have two truths. So true and true is the only time that's going to give us a true statement. So just remember that. That's why you have to know the meaning of the symbol. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we're going to be looking at the column for Q, right? Because that's what we're looking at. And we also look for the column for R. So these are the only two columns we're looking, and we are asking ourselves conjunction. So true and true gives us true. True and false, remember they both have to be true. So this one's false. False and true, false. False and false, false. True and true, that one's good. So that's how we get a true. True and false, false. False and true, false. False and false is false. Okay, so if you notice, we didn't look at all the table. We just looked at the columns that we needed. So I'm going to clean this up and let's see what we have done. We have a column for this and we have a column for this. So now we're ready to tackle the whole statement. Now we're going to join both of those columns with a conjunction. So that means that we have to create an extra column. So if you notice, we are ready to do a column for the whole statement because we have a column for negation P, which is right here. So we're going to be using this column. We already have a column for Q and R, which is right here. Now what we're going to be doing is joining those two columns with a conjunction. And again, remember, conjunction is true when they're both true. So let's give this a try. False and true, false. False and false, false. False and false, false. False and false again, false. True and true, that's a good one. That one's true. True and false, false. True and false, false. True and false, false. So look at that. So that is our final column because that includes the whole statement. So it looked scary, but if you notice, we had to do baby steps. We had to create a column for this first, which we did here. Then we created a column for the parentheses, which we did here. And then we finally made a column for the whole thing, which is here. So we first had to start with these three columns, which helped us eventually build up the truth table. But the farther you go into the truth table, you'll notice that sometimes you don't need the columns at the beginning. Well, we do need them, but you don't read them when you start filling up new columns. So that is how you create the truth table for a full statement.